This is Mick from National Rock Review. I'm here with Roger and Logan Raskin of the Raskins.
How you doing? How you doing?
We're here in Flint, Michigan at the illustrious, famous machine shop known worldwide. You guys are kicking off your next part of the tour here.
That's it, yeah. I'm excited about it. We'll be playing with Saving Abel tonight.
Excellent. You guys just got done playing with Scott Weiland on a successful tour around the southern part of the country for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did 11 shows with Scott Weiland and his band, which was actually went really well. It was kind of a tour that kind of came up last minute for us. And so, I mean, took full advantage of that. You know, got the crew together and took the bus out, went out on the road, knocked out 11 shows with Scott, which went incredibly well. And then halfway in the middle of that tour, we get an email from our agents and label that you guys, it might be a possibility that you guys are going to be doing going out on the road with Motley Crue. And we're like, what? They're like, well, yeah, it's possible. You guys might do 17 shows with them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So, you know, we'll kind of see what happens. And it turned out being 66 shows, and we ended up getting the whole tour. And, you know, it starts July 2nd for us.
It's been a great year, though. Just rolling over from Scott Weiland onto this.
I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. You guys have just released your debut album in 2014. You're on the road with Scott Weiland. Now you're on the hottest tour of the summer, Motley Crue and Alice Cooper, two of the biggest names in rock and roll history.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. I mean, we're excited about, you know, our album coming out. It came out May 13th on Morale Records, which we were stoked about, you know. So that kind of hit while we were out with Scott Weiland, and then, you know, now we get to, you know, do this tour with Motley Crue and Alice Cooper, and hopefully the record will do really well. And I mean, we're just completely stoked about the summer.
It's been getting received really well. The record, I'm pretty psyched about it. Reviews have been great. People seem to be really digging it.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Yeah, we're actually overwhelmed with the reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. You do your debut album, you know, we put it out there. You never know what kind of response you can get.
Right.
I mean, we love the record, but, you know, it's really not for us to interpret. You know, you put it out there into the universe and for the fans to perceive it, and, you know, we hope that they like it, you know, and all the critics. And
there's a lot of layers on the record, so I mean, it's not just one dimensional. There's a lot of different things to it. So just kind of just threw it out there and see how people were going to receive it, and it's been getting positive feedback.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited.
I mean, the first review we got was like really positive. I don't know why I was surprised. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I know the record's good, but you never know what you're gonna get. And I was really happy with the response, you know, and it's been snowballing from there, you know.
Right.
It's been really, you know, received well. So we're excited about that.
I can definitely see the excitement in your demeanor. You know, you guys are just flowing over with energy.
Sure.
So this is a good warm-up show for you guys tonight. So, being on tour with Alice Cooper and Motley Crue, how have those guys influenced you over the years?
I mean, it's Alice Cooper and Motley Crue, man.
I mean, growing up, I mean,
you're into rock music, you know, how can you not be influenced by those guys? I mean, those guys are the pioneers of it all.
I mean, they were huge in the 80s, and just big influences on Logan and myself. And just to have the opportunity to be able to go out and experience this tour with those guys is going to be a special moment in our career, and just it's going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Anytime you get an opportunity to go out with these kind of artists and bands, and, you know, Scott Weiland was great. I mean, he was a big influence for us, and now the opportunity for me to go out. I mean, I would have been psyched to go out with Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
You know, but to go out with Alice Cooper and Motley Crue, and then it's Motley Crue's, you know, farewell tour. It's incredible opportunity for us.
I mean, we got our feet wet really with the Scott Weiland tour. I mean, because you never know how the crowd's gonna, you know, kind of receive you, and it was. I mean, I was so overwhelmed. You know, we would play our shows and then go to the merch booth and just kind of, you know, meet the fans and stuff like that, and sign CDs and things like that. And it was overwhelming how people they just loved the live show, loved the music, and you know, it gives us confidence coming on to this tour, knowing that we could definitely hold the spot, be strong, and I feel pretty solid about it. I feel that the people are going to really like the music and like the live show, and I'm excited.
I mean, it's an interesting position now we're in, because we're not headlining. I mean, we're opening up for these artists that have been pioneers in rock music. So we're confident in our music, and we're confident in our band and how tight we are and the show that we put on. But that's really not what it's about. I mean, you're playing to their crowd, and these people, for the most part, are there to see these great artists. So for us, it's just about keeping.
We just want to whet their appetite a little bit and get the crowd warmed up, and really our main objective is that they all have a good time and enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah, and try to win over these fans, you know, and just and give them a new taste of what we are. You know, we're a new artist, you know, in the rock scene, and we want to be, you know, the next guys to keep the rock and roll music moving forward. You know? So hopefully we can be that.
Well, you guys talk about being the new artist on the scene, but the fact is, you come from a musically rich family. Your parents are extremely involved in the music industry over the years, Broadway, jazz, all sorts of music.
Sure.
I'm sure that played a huge influence on your life.
Definitely. I mean, growing up, I mean, to have music in the house all the time. I mean, our parents were always teaching us music, and you know, there was always a piano around, and my mom was always singing in the kitchen, and my dad was always, you know, going over all his sheet music, and it was definitely a fun environment to grow up in. And Logan and I took to it pretty quickly. And, yeah.
I mean, how can you not? You know, I mean, you know, my dad was a huge Broadway star. I mean, we used to go see my dad in all those Broadway shows: Oklahoma, South Pacific, Can't Get Your Gun,
Guys and Dolls,
Guys and Dolls, you know, West Side Story. So, I mean, going to see my dad perform in these lead roles on Broadway and how the crowd would perceive him was incredible. And he also used to tour. He had an orchestra that he used to tour with and do club dates on the weekends. He would take us on the road with him, and so, I mean, you know, our biggest influence growing up was my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the music that they listened to, you know, I mean, Sarah Vaughan, Tom Jones, Frank Sinatra, who else? Nat King Cole. You know, I mean, the first concert my parents ever took us to was, I think we were 6 years old, and they took us to see Ray Charles at Eisenhower Park
right?
in New York. So, I mean, that was the kind of scene that they kind of kept us around, and that kind of music, and it definitely rubbed off, you know. But I mean, eventually, being raised in New York City, you know, Roger and I we found our way out of the house into the club scene, and then that was really where we discovered rock music, you know, and our biggest influences came from the music around the scene at that time.
I mean, at that time, yeah, I mean, the rock and roll, like punk rock and roll scene was really flourishing at that time, and just to be around during all those great bands and that great music. I mean, it was hard not to really take to it, and just to see a whole other different perspective of how music could be distributed, you know, on a stage to the public.
Yeah, I mean, on any given night, you can go to any club that was, you know, popping off in the Village. I mean, you could be in the Wetlands, or Mercury Lounge, or CBGB's, or the Bank, or Limelight, Continental, or Tramps, and you'd see a band like the Ramones, or Iggy Pop, or the Talking Heads, or Blondie, you know, the Plasmatics, or whomever. I mean, it was just so many artists at the time that were just kicking butt in Manhattan. And these are the bands that, I mean, the artists that, you know, Patti Smith. I mean, these are the artists that we were influenced by. So, I mean, you kind of mix that with what we had influenced by our parents, and just kind of get what we are today. You know, it's just,
I kind of think that that's kind of how our record, when you listen to our records, a lot of songwriting ability there. It's not just kind of wham bam thank you man. I think there's a lot of strong layers there, but yet, you know, there's some good solid rock and roll there, there's some good pop elements there, a lot of harmonies and stuff like that. I think it's a fun record. And
I mean, we were also influenced by, I mean, like Simon and Garfunkel. We're huge New York artists that Roger and I were influenced by. Steely Dan's another New York artist, and Richie Havens, and we're huge fans of those guys, and they definitely rubbed off on us. And so it's kind of like, I mean, and with this album, we really wanted to, and we had creative control, I mean, full creative control. We took our time, and we wanted to really incorporate all those influences on the record, and I think we did. You know, I think we take everybody on a journey, and we're pretty excited about it. and it's it's our diary, it's our musical diary, and it's a pleasure for us to put it out into the public. And like I said earlier in the interview, I mean, I was nervous about how people would perceive it, but we're ecstatic about the reviews that we've been getting so far, and it seems like people have been really digging it to this point.
I think as artists, you try to, for Logan and I, the most important thing, and I get asked all the time, like, what kind of advice can you give young artists or artists that are coming up in the business? And Logan and I mean, the one thing I can say is that you have to do what feels right to you in your heart, and play that kind of music that feels right, that comes out of you from your heart, not play music or whatever the industry is kind of telling you, say it has to be this way, or you got to look this way, or you have to sound this way, because then it's not going to be authentic. And it's I mean, of course I wanted people to take to our music and like it, but I was happy with what we did because it came from our soul, and I was, at that point, I was good with it. Stuff that's coming now is kind of like, just kind of icing on the cake, and I mean, we're blessed, we're in a blessed position, and just Logan and I just take it as it comes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reflection of our past, the music that we've written, and like I said, it's almost like for us, like a musical diary. So, and that's probably the most important thing. I mean, to any artist, I would think it's the way you can express yourself.
Absolutely.
Music is it's such a powerful tool,
right.
And for us, it's our release. I mean, I don't know what would happen to the two of us if we didn't have music. I mean, but it's a way for us to release and to get it out through music, and to get our emotions, our feelings, and and just put it down on paper and put it to music and record it and put it out to the world.
I mean, and success wasn't something we really ever thought about, and now that things are kind of getting bigger and bigger, it's humbling. You know what I mean? But that's not really why we got into it. I mean, we got into it because it was a form of expression for Logan and I, and a way for us to just kind of, the way a poet would write poetry. Logan and I are musicians, but we're songwriters. We get what we feel out through our music. And, I mean,
being in a position to do music full time, in my mind, we're a success. I mean, we never got involved in music to be so-called rich or make a lot of money and all that stuff. It was never about that, and it's not about that right now, Okay. So I mean, we try to obviously just keep our head on our shoulders, and I mean, the real reason why we got involved in music was just to hopefully to get to a point where it's something that we would be able to do full time. And we're being allowed to do that now. And for my brother and I, it's, we, like Roger said, we do feel blessed, and we do feel like we're a success because we're being allowed and able to do what we're so passionate about, which is music, full time.
And then when people come up to us and say, we really loved your show, or we loved the CD, or it's just really nice. You know what I mean? It just makes you feel good. It's pretty
love our fans.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, People come up to you and they ask you for an autograph, or they want to take a picture of you, or they tell you how much they dig your music and stuff like that. And you get so consumed with developing your sound and writing your music and all the years that you put in, and pushing towards this thing.
You don't ever really think about that aspect of it.
You never think about the payoff, and you never think about the result, because it's taken so much time to put all this together, and we've loved the journey. I mean, the journey for us, it's been a crazy one, but it's been exciting, and we're so caught up in that, and we still are. So when you see people's reaction to what you're doing, you see, like, you slowly start to get a fan base, and it's starting to grow and grow and grow. People want to know about you, and they're curious to know about your history, and they're curious to know about your music. It's overwhelming for us.
Yeah, it's humbling. But Logan and I, we always make ourselves available to fans or people that appreciate what it is that we do.
Of course.
Whether it be reporters, or in doing interviews, or just taking
time to sign autographs
after shows. I mean, I don't know of other artists do that, but Logan and I would want people to come up and be able to give us a high five or a hug, or I appreciate that. I mean, it means the world to me. And I remember that. That's the stuff that I take home after I come off tour. I remember those moments.
Well, growing up, obviously you guys had a lot of, fine pedigree in the music business, and you were probably obviously around a lot of famous rock stars, musicians, performers all the time. So to yourselves, you probably never really had a lot of starstruck moments growing up. It just became second nature to you. But as you got older and perform in bands now, you may recall back in the day that bands were less accessible than they are now. Now we have social media, Facebook, Twitter, and bands are a lot more accessible. So the fact that you guys are, recognize that, that's what phrase it, that being accessible to your fans and being close and personal with them is a way to go moving forward.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, yeah, social media is really probably the reason why we are sitting here, and I mean, getting to one point is that we always do try to communicate with our fans. I mean, if someone emails us or writes us or hits us up on Twitter or Facebook, I mean, we hit them back. You know what I'm saying? And they can't believe that. They can't believe that we're reachable.
I mean, Logan and I, we're not one of those people that have a publicist that control our Twitter or Facebook. Logan and I have done everything grassroots, and we've done everything ourselves.
Yeah, we control it ourselves. We run our Facebook, our websites, our Twitter,
it may
YouTube
take a little
accounts.
time for us to get back to somebody, but it's us getting back to someone. You know what I mean? And we really try to make an effort to respond to
our
everyone.
fans know that. They realize that, and one fan turns into 3 fans, turns into 10 fans, turns into 100 fans.
Right.
And that's what we've done. I mean, we've grown our fan base hands-on, right, grassroots, worked in our local markets, started in New York City, worked out, things were working out really well there, then hit LA, Hollywood, just worked really hard in that market, and then expanded, started to tour around the country, put together our own little tours, and I really worked hard and putting it all together. And the most important part of that was growing our fan base and our fans, and doing it through social media. We shot all the videos ourselves, we recorded the album ourselves, we did the website ourselves, and I think the fans know that, they appreciate that, and we try to really have a hands-on.
They can relate to it. I think that's, they don't feel like we're out of touch. They feel like, hey, I can relate to these guys, kind of no different than we are, or I want them to feel that way. When they come to the show, I want them to feel like they can come up and say hi, or just have a good time at the show. Yeah.
But we're in a great position to, these kids, they really listen to what you have to say. Roger and I realize that, right? We're in a privileged position, and it's one that you can do so many things with, and we really try to take it upon ourselves to, these kids live and die on every word that we say, and fortunately or unfortunately, that just is the way it is. They're fans of your music and they're fans of what you do, so Roger and I try to put out a positive message to these kids. Anything you say, they're gonna be into. You know what I'm saying? And that's a position that you have to really take responsibility with, and we definitely do realize that. So the content that we write is positive content. Things that we post in the blogs that we post, it's positive. We let people into our life, but it's real, it's realistic, but we always try to keep it on a positive tip. We know that there are there's thousands of young kids out there that are watching and listening and really living and dying on every word that you say. So, we're aware of that. It's important to us to have a positive influence, and mostly on the kids, and this, you'd be surprised at the age gap that listens to our music. It's so widespread, but for us, it's most important that we hit those young kids with a positive message, and we really try to keep it on a positive tip for us. And that, look, it's to be cool and to play rock and roll the way we do. You can do it. You can do it the way we do it, and it's clean, and it's good old-fashioned rock and roll. You don't have to do drugs, you don't have to drink, you don't have to smoke, you don't have to do any of that stuff. We don't do any of that stuff, So, that's how we like to keep it. So, as we've stated, social media has played a huge part in our career to this point. know, and the message that we give, you know, out to these fans is a positive one. We definitely want to keep it on a positive tip. And, you know, we feel like, you know, we're a big influence for a lot of people, especially the younger fans. And, you know, and the way the internet is set up now and the power of it, you know, we use that as a tool to get our message across to these kids and the fans and keep it positive. Right?
So going back to your family again, obviously your parents' long, illustrious music career, but they've never really tried to force the industry on you as musicians. You guys have built this all on your own. So what was the nurturing like when you guys decided to finally take this step? Did they shift gears and like, hey, let me give you some advice? Did they just let you go your own and discover your own failures and success?
Well, parents are definitely always super supportive of any decision or any things that we wanted to do in our lives, but I think they definitely pushed the musical industry on us, saying, oh, this is what you guys need to make this as a career choice. Although they were always teaching us music and had music in the house, so I think it was just a natural progression. It's, you know, like, hey, this kind of feels comfortable. It was kind of the comfortable thing. It's where Logan and I always felt the most comfortable being involved in music. And
well, as Roger said, I mean, it was interesting because they taught us how to play all these musical instruments. I mean, we had a bedroom with a piano in it.
Yeah.
We didn't have TVs in our house. You know, my parents kept musical instruments around. I mean, Roger and I were composing music at 8 years old. So, but I mean, we were always around it and influenced by it by our parents. But they didn't push the industry on us.
No.
They didn't. In fact, you know, my mom has said this many times, she didn't want us involved in the music industry, yet she taught us how to play all these instruments. She taught us how to read and write, you know, read and play all their sheet music, to all my dad's show tunes and all that big band music that my mom used to sing and play too. And so when Roger and I decided to, you know, to really go for this on our own, I mean, we basically were pretty much on our own. I mean, we had 100% support of our parents. They were very supportive, but, you know, they were from a different era and a different time, and the music industry was completely different back then than it is now. So there wasn't really much they can do in terms of helping us, other than give us their 100% support, which is what they did.
But I think like our parents.
Edit. Yeah.
Yeah, but
3,
like,
2, 1.
like I was saying, I mean, I think that especially our mom, I mean, there's a side of the music industry that she was familiar with back in her day. That was, you know, it's tough. I mean, there are parts of the business that aren't so nice, and that can be kind of grinding. And I think that, you know, growing up as young kids, she had in her mind that she didn't want us to experience any of that, of the crappy side of the business. But I think it's important to learn all aspects of the business, and I mean, even to experience some of the crappy side of the business, because that makes you appreciate some of the good things, you know, when they do happen. It just makes you more balanced and well-rounded as a musician and an artist.
What's the best piece of advice and the worst piece of advice ever given to you in the music industry?
I hit that one low.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, to this day, I mean, I have it in my head. I mean, there was a gentleman, I'll even mention his name. There was a guy by the name of Jim Patulski that he managed a band called Dream Theater. He managed a bunch of other bands. And Jim, when we first started out, we actually got friendly with Jim. You know, Jim got me signed up with ASCAP, taught me about music royalties and all this stuff. And I was young at the time. But I remember having lunch with him one day, and you know, I mean, and I asked him, you know, I said, how do these bands become successful? And like, what's it going to take for myself and Roger and I to, you know, to really get to that next level? And he said, look, Logan, he goes, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm gonna shoot you straight. You know, he goes, most bands don't and aren't, you know, patient enough where they last, you know. And basically he's like, I'm just gonna say this: if you don't quit, you're gonna have success. He goes, and 99.9% of these musicians, they just don't last. They just don't last. You know, they get to a point, they all reach their breaking point. He goes, and I'm telling you, Logan, he goes, if you just keep at it and just stay the course, your success is gonna come. Now, I don't know when that's gonna be. It could be a year, it could be 10 years, you know? That conversation was 12 years ago, you know, maybe longer. But it's interesting now, and I'm friends with Jim on Facebook, seeing his comments, and he, you know, I hadn't spoken to him in a while, and then I get this, you know, I get this message from him. He said, "See, Logan, I told you, you know, eventually it was gonna come." And I was like, "Yeah, man. I mean, you were right. You know, I mean, so, you know, I mean, the music industry is a tough beast, man. It's tough, you know."
I mean, Logan and I definitely weren't an overnight thing. I mean, it was definitely a process getting to where we are now. And but that process is what makes us who we are. And maybe that's why we're as humble as we are. You know, I don't know if I could have handled this in my teens. You know, I know I thought differently. So, yeah.
So, I mean, that was, if there's anything I could say, I mean, you know, I mean, you have to be passionate about it. And the bottom line is that Roger and I, we were involved in music once again. I said this earlier in the interview. We're involved in music because we love music. We do music because we love music. I couldn't live without it. You know, I'm not here because I expect to generate income from it. I really don't even give a shit about it. You know, I mean, I'm hip to it, but that's not why I'm here. And that's my biggest advice. I mean, if you're not passionate about it, it's going to eat you up, the music industry, and spit you out alive.
Logan's saying if you don't enjoy the process or the road traveling to get from A to B, just
because no one can pull the guitar out of my hands. No one can tell me I can't record and write music and do whatever I want to do. You know what I'm saying? It's my life. I can do what I want with it. As much as people tell me, you have no shot, or your music sucks, or you're wasting your time, or whatever. And I've heard tons of that. But I don't do music for them. I do music for me. You know, it's in my soul. It's in our blood. It's what we love to do. It's what makes me feel good. So, you know, I mean, my biggest advice would be that. I mean, be passionate about what you're passionate about. I mean, it could be anything, right? Or musicians. So, I mean, if you're going to get involved in music, I mean, do music for you. Don't do it for anyone else, you know? And I think the worst thing that you can do, and I'm not saying that this is advice that's been given to me, but you can say, I mean, like if you watch like a lot of the stuff on TV, you know, these music videos, you see like these big baller kind of music videos and these kids throwing around the money with the chains and these fancy cars and all that stuff. I'm not sure if that they're spitting out a positive message to these kids because they think, wow, I can get involved in music and boom, I can have all that. And I'm not saying that you can't, but it's like, I don't think it's
not a fair reality of what the process is or what the business is. It's definitely
because of what's happening is a lot of these kids are seeing that and they're loving what they can get from success, but they're not loving all that other stuff that comes before that. And to me, that's the most beautiful part of it all. It's the journey.
But they're forgetting the most important part of what it is we do, which is the music. You know, it comes down to musicality.
Of course.
The way you play your instrument.
I mean, Roger and I, we lock ourselves in our studio. We don't hang out at night. You know, we're not out drinking. We're not out partying with friends, you know. I'm in my studio 24/7 writing.
But we enjoy that. I mean, we're nerdy guys like that. It's just what we like to do.
It's not just that. It's just that you know, to me, time is precious. You know, and I want to spend my time doing what I love to do. I mean, if I'm out sitting, you know, hanging out with friends, just in a bar or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love to go out and see bands and all that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, it's, you know, you got to be passionate about your craft, be serious about it, and put that time in and sacrifice. I mean, it wasn't a sacrifice for us because we love what we do. But then again, neither of us have girlfriends. You know what I'm saying? I sacrificed a lot of time hanging out with my friends, and
That just got me like 50,000 views right there in this video alone.
but I mean, there you go. I mean, that's really what, you know. I mean, don't, you know. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in those kind of videos and that kind of a mentality. But you know,
Logan and I just focused guys. I mean, say, hey, I would love to have a girlfriend. I would love to, but we're not multitask kind of guys. We just, you know, we stick to course. We do one thing and we try to perfect that one thing that we do, and then.
And I'm not gonna lie, it affects other things in your life because you're putting so much time, so much focus into that one thing, you know. And other things kind of it affects other things around you, you know, because you're not putting that kind of time into that, you know. But we try to have a balance in our life. But what we're trying to say is the amount of time, effort, and devotion that we put in to music and our passion is what I think, and that should be the influence that we're trying to get off of. You know, if you want something bad enough, you got to work hard for it. You know, granted, it can come overnight. I mean, it's happened. I'm not saying that it can't, but I'm saying that you want to have that foundation and that work ethic, and then, you know, successes will come to you.
Fair enough. Finally, in summation, kind of an off-the-wall question. Like I said earlier, you guys have been around a lot of famous people. Was there any particular celebrity, anybody that you guys would absolutely like, oh shit, I'm standing next to so-and-so?
I mean, honestly, for me, I mean, the person that was most impressive to me was my dad. So, I mean, so it's hard. I mean, the first time, and I still remember to this day, the first time I saw him perform had such a huge impact on me that it was hard to put. I mean, yeah, I'm impressed with a lot of musicians, and I see bands, and I'm like, wow, these guys are great, but I can't.
Basically, what Roger's saying is if I had a rock star and our hero living under my own roof growing up.
So,
And, you know, my dad used to take us to his shows. He'd be performing in front of 1,500, 2,000 people up in the Catskills, up in the mountain, Mount Washington, or whatever, on his big club dates. And I would see, I wasn't really always watching my father. I was watching
the audience,
the crowd react to my father.
Right.
And that was, to me, what was blowing my mind.
Right.
Because I was always hanging around my dad. My dad was just my dad. But seeing how these people would react to him, and my dad didn't have the greatest voice, but what he did have was he knew how to entertain a crowd. Right. He was very theatrical on stage. He knew how to reach people, man. And he was great at that. And he taught us how to do that. He taught us how to be really good entertainers and how important the fans are and how important your audience is. And that was what we, you know, used to see growing up. So, I mean, he was, as Roger said, definitely our biggest influence. And you know, I mean, I was in awe of my dad.
So if that's okay, we'll give that one up.
Absolutely.
Our dad, Tommy Raskin.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The highest honor a son can give, man.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks so much.
Thank you, real
Kick
pleasure.
some ass tonight at the Machine Shop, and I
Thanks
think
so
next
much.
Wednesday, July 2nd, you kick it off with Motley Crue and Alice Cooper in Grand Rapids at the Van Andel Arena.
Yep.
Changing of the guard,
Yeah,
out with the
I'm
old
excited.
and with the new. So, you guys are kind of like Motley Crue back in the day when they were handpicked to go on tour with Ozzy or
That's
whoever
right.
it was.
That's,
You know,
that's
so,
how they did it, right?
yeah.
So,
And you guys did it with no MTV.
yeah, that's right. No MTV, no TV.
Right? Reverb Nation.
That's it. Reverb Nation, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. That's how we did it.
Well, congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much. See you guys soon.